They moved into my house 3 days after I gave birth, claiming they wanted to help with the baby. What they didn't know was that I had already sold the house, transferred ownership, and planned their eviction 6 months before my daughter was even born. This is the story of how I outmaneuvered the most manipulative people I had ever encountered, using their own assumptions against them while they thought they were taking control of my life. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. My name is Rebecca Chen, and 18 months ago I discovered something that changed everything about how I viewed my relationship with my husband's family. I was 7 months pregnant with our first child when I found a series of text messages between my mother-in-law Patricia and my sister-in-law Amanda that revealed their true intentions regarding our home, our marriage, and our future child. The messages were accidentally sent to our shared family group chat instead of their private conversation. Patricia had written, "Once the baby arrives, we'll move in to help, and it will be much easier to establish our influence. Rebecca will be too exhausted to resist, and David will appreciate having his real family there to support him." Amanda's response was equally revealing. "Perfect timing. We can finally get them out of that house they can't really afford, and into something more practical where we have more say in decisions." I screenshot every message before they raised their mistake and quickly deleted them from the group chat. As I read their detailed plans to manipulate our vulnerable post-birth period, something crystallized in my mind. This was not going to be a temporary visit to help with a newborn. This was a calculated takeover attempt, disguised as family support. That night, while David slept peacefully beside me, unaware of his family's machinations, I began developing a strategy that would protect our independence while exposing their true motivation. I realized that their assumption about my post-pregnancy vulnerability would become their greatest weakness. Over the following weeks, I began systematically documenting every interaction with Patricia and Amanda, paying particular attention to their subtle attempts to establish control over decisions about our home, our finances, and our future parenting choices. Their manipulative patterns became increasingly clear once I knew what to observe. Patricia would make seemingly helpful suggestions about baby preparations that always involved significant financial commitments requiring their input or assistance. She insisted on specific pediatricians who happened to be family friends, recommended child-care approaches that would require extensive grandmother involvement, and suggested home modifications that would accommodate extended family stay. Amanda focused on undermining my confidence and decision-making capabilities. She would share stories about new mothers who struggled without family support, express concerns about my readiness for parenthood, and offer to help with tasks I was perfectly capable of handling independently. Her apparent helpfulness always contained subtle messages about my inadequacy and need for family oversight. Most significantly, I discovered through careful conversation that they had already begun making plans for extended residence in our home. Patricia had researched the legal requirements for establishing tenancy rights, while Amanda had investigated childcare licensing requirements that would position her as an essential caregiver. Understanding their intentions allowed me to develop comprehensive countermeasures that would protect our family while avoiding direct confrontation that could damage David's relationships or create ongoing conflict. My strategy required careful timing, legal preparation, and psychological positioning that would make their manipulative tactics backfire spectacularly. My first priority was protecting our financial independence and home ownership. I consulted with a real estate attorney about rapid property transfer options that would allow us to maintain control over our living situation while preventing any attempts to establish tenancy or property claim. I also began documenting their manipulative communications and behaviors, creating a detailed record that would support any legal actions that might become necessary. This documentation would prove crucial for establishing patterns of behavior that could support restraining orders or other protective measures if their manipulation escalated to harassment. Most importantly, I started building a support network of genuine allies who could provide actual assistance during the vulnerable post-birth period, ensuring that we would have legitimate help available when we genuinely needed it, rather than manipulative control disguised as assistance. After extensive consultation with legal and financial advisors, I developed a property transfer strategy that would give us maximum flexibility while preventing any attempts by Patricia and Amanda to establish residence rights or property claims. The strategy involved transferring ownership of our current house to a limited liability company that I controlled, then immediately selling that property to a trusted friend with an agreement for immediate leaseback arrangement. This created a legal structure where we were tenants rather than owners, which eliminated any basis for extended family members to claim property rights or tenancy privileges. The financial arrangements were structured to protect our equity while creating clear legal boundaries. The sale price reflected current market value, with the proceeds held in escrow pending our purchase of a new property that would better meet our family's long-term needs and provide appropriate distance from manipulative relatives. This approach accomplished multiple objectives simultaneously. It protected our financial investment, prevented any legal claims to our property, created a legitimate reason for requiring their departure after a specific time frame, and positioned us to relocate to a more suitable living situation when we were ready to make that transition. Implementing this strategy required careful communication that would avoid alerting Patricia and Amanda to my awareness of their true intentions, while establishing clear boundaries and expectations for their proposed visit. I began having conversations with David about our post-birth needs and preferences, guiding him toward conclusions that aligned with my protective strategy without revealing the underlying conflict with his family. These discussions focused on our desire for independence, our need to establish our own parenting approaches, and our preference for maintaining control over our home environment. When Patricia and Amanda brought up their plans to stay with us after the baby's arrival, I responded with apparent gratitude while establishing specific parameters that would limit their ability to establish permanent residence. I suggested a 2-week visit to help us adjust, followed by regular but limited ongoing support that would preserve our independence. I also began introducing the topic of our potential relocation plans, framing them as practical considerations related to school districts, commuting convenience, and long-term financial plans. This groundwork would make our eventual property transition seem like natural family planning rather than defensive maneuvering. Understanding that we would need genuine assistance during the early weeks of parenthood, I cultivated relationships with trustworthy individuals who could provide actual help without manipulative agendas or control attempts. I connected with other new mothers in our neighborhood who could offer practical advice and occasional assistance based on mutual support rather than family obligation. I researched professional postpartum services that could provide expert care and guidance without emotional manipulation or judgment. Most importantly, I strengthened relationships with David's extended family members, who genuinely cared about our well-being rather than their own control needs. His Aunt Marie and Uncle Robert had always been supportive without being intrusive, and they were pleased to serve as backup support when Patricia and Amanda's true nature eventually became apparent. This network would prove essential for demonstrating that our desire for independence was not isolation or rejection of help, but rather a preference for healthy, respectful support relationships over manipulative control attempts. Protecting our financial security required more than property transfer arrangements. I implemented comprehensive measures to prevent any attempts to access our financial accounts, establish credit obligations, or create financial dependencies that could be used for ongoing manipulation. I established separate banking relationships that Patricia and Amanda could not access or monitor, ensuring that our financial decisions remained private and protected from their scrutiny or interference. I also created emergency funds that would enable us to maintain independence regardless of any attempts to create financial pressure or dependence. Insurance arrangements were modified to ensure that David and I maintained complete control over medical decisions, childcare choices, and financial priorities without interference from extended family members who might attempt to use their assistance as leverage for control. These measures would prove crucial when Patricia and Amanda eventually revealed their true intentions and attempted to use financial pressure to maintain their position in our home and family decisions. Throughout this preparation period, I maintained detailed records of every interaction, conversation, and incident that revealed Patricia and Amanda's manipulative intentions and controlling behaviors. This documentation would provide essential evidence if legal intervention became necessary. I recorded dates, times, and specific details of conversations where they expressed inappropriate expectations about our home, our parenting decisions, or our family priorities. I preserved text messages, emails, and voicemails that demonstrated patterns of manipulation and control attempts. Most importantly, I documented their responses to reasonable boundaries and independence assertions, showing how they reacted to any attempt to maintain autonomy or question their involvement in our personal decisions. This documentation would prove invaluable when their helpful facade eventually collapsed and their true controlling nature became impossible to hide from David and other family members. Preparing for the confrontation that would inevitably occur required significant psychological preparation to ensure that I could maintain composure and strategic thinking under pressure while protecting my family from emotional manipulation and gaslighting attempts. I studied psychological manipulation techniques to better understand their methods and develop effective responses that would expose their behaviors without escalating conflict unnecessarily. Understanding their tactics allowed me to remain calm and strategic rather than reactive when they attempted to provoke emotional responses. I also prepared responses to their likely accusations and manipulation attempts, practicing clear factual communication that would establish boundaries without providing opportunities for further manipulation or control attempts. Most importantly, I prepared David for the possibility that his family's helpful intentions might include hidden agendas that could threaten our independence and family autonomy. These conversations required delicate handling to avoid damaging his relationships while ensuring he would recognize manipulation when it became obvious. The final element of my strategic preparation involved developing a detailed timeline that would allow their manipulative intentions to become obvious while maintaining my ability to implement protective measures at the optimal moment for maximum effectiveness. I planned to allow them to move in as scheduled, giving them enough time to reveal their true intentions while preventing them from establishing any legal tenancy rights that could complicate their removal. The property transfer would be completed during their stay, creating a natural deadline for their departure. The timeline also included specific milestones for documenting their behaviors, implementing boundaries, and escalating protective measures if their manipulation attempts became more aggressive or threatening. This careful planning would ensure that when the confrontation finally occurred, I would have comprehensive evidence, legal protection, and strategic positioning that would make their manipulation attempts completely ineffective while exposing their true nature to David and other family members. Throughout this preparation process, I drew strength from the understanding that protecting my family from manipulation was not just defensive action, but proactive empowerment that would establish healthy boundaries and relationship patterns for our future. I realized that many new mothers face similar challenges with controlling relatives who use vulnerable periods to establish inappropriate influence over family decisions. My strategic approach could serve as a model for other women who need to protect their independence while maintaining family relationships. The preparation period taught me that apparent vulnerability can actually be a position of strength when combined with careful planning and strategic thinking. Patricia and Amanda's assumptions about my post-pregnancy weakness would become the foundation for their complete miscalculation of my capabilities and determination. Most importantly, I understood that this confrontation was about more than just protecting our home. It was about establishing patterns of respect and autonomy that would protect our daughter from manipulative family dynamics and ensure that she grew up in an environment where healthy boundaries were maintained and respected. As my due date approached and Patricia began making more specific plans for their extended stay, I felt confident that my months of preparation had created the foundation for protecting my family while exposing the truth about their intentions. The stage was set for a confrontation that would permanently establish our independence and reveal the reality behind their helpful facade. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The strategic foundation I had built over those crucial months of pregnancy would soon be tested in the most challenging circumstances imaginable. New motherhood would bring exhaustion, vulnerability, and emotional intensity that could easily overwhelm careful planning if not properly anticipated and prepared. However, my systematic approach to intelligence gathering, legal protection, financial security, and psychological preparation had created multiple layers of defense that would remain effective even under the stress of caring for a newborn while managing manipulative relatives. The next phase would require implementing these strategies while maintaining the appearance of grateful acceptance of their help, allowing their true intentions to become obvious while protecting our family from their control attempt. Most importantly, this preparation phase had transformed me from a potential victim of family manipulation into a strategic protector of our independence and family autonomy. The lessons learned during this period would continue serving our family for years to come, establishing patterns of empowerment and boundary maintenance that would benefit our daughter throughout her life. Your assignment before the next episode is to identify any manipulative patterns in your own family relationships and begin documenting specific behaviors that reveal control attempts disguised as helpfulness. Understanding these patterns is the first step toward protecting yourself and your loved ones from emotional manipulation and maintaining healthy family boundaries. Remember that preparation and strategic thinking can transform apparent vulnerability into positions of strength, and that protecting your family from manipulation is not selfish but essential for healthy relationship development and personal empowerment. The contractions began at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday morning in September, exactly 2 weeks before my official due date. As I breathed through the early stages of labor, I felt a profound sense of readiness that extended far beyond the physical preparation for childbirth. The months of strategic planning were about to be tested under the most intense circumstances imaginable. David was immediately attentive and supportive, timing contractions and preparing our hospital bag with the nervous excitement of a first-time father. What he did not realize was that I had already implemented the first phase of my protective strategy the previous evening by activating the property transfer documentation and notifying my legal team that the timeline was accelerating. Patricia had insisted on being contacted the moment labor began, claiming she needed adequate time to arrange her travel and prepare for extended childcare assistance. I deliberately waited until we were leaving for the hospital before sending the notification, ensuring that she would arrive after the immediate birth experience was complete and our initial bonding period was protected. The birth of our daughter Emma proceeded smoothly, with David providing exceptional support throughout the delivery process. As I held our perfect, healthy baby for the first time, I felt an overwhelming surge of protective determination that reinforced every aspect of my strategic plan. This beautiful child would grow up in an environment of respect and healthy boundaries, free from manipulation and control attempts disguised as family care. The 48 hours in the hospital provided essential time for implementing the second phase of my strategy while establishing initial parenting routines and recovering from childbirth. I had specifically chosen a hospital with strict visitor policies that required parental approval for all guests, giving us complete control over who could access our room during this vulnerable period. Patricia called repeatedly during our first day, expressing urgent concern about our well-being and insisting that she needed to see the baby immediately to ensure proper care was being provided. I maintained polite but firm boundaries, explaining that we were following medical recommendations for limited visitors during the initial recovery period and would welcome family visits once we returned home. Her response revealed the first cracks in her helpful facade. Rather than expressing understanding about medical protocols and new parent needs, she became increasingly agitated about being excluded from immediate access to her granddaughter. Her language shifted from supportive concern to demanding entitlement, providing early confirmation that my strategic concerns had been well-founded. Amanda's communications were equally revealing, focusing primarily on logistics for their planned extended stay rather than congratulations or genuine care for our family's well-being. She sent detailed lists of supplies they would need, room arrangements they preferred, and schedules they wanted to establish for childcare responsibility. During this hospital period, I used the protected environment to complete final legal documentation, confirm property transfer timelines, and coordinate with my support network for the challenging period ahead. The hospital's secure communication systems allowed me to handle these arrangements without Patricia and Amanda monitoring my activities or becoming aware of the comprehensive preparations I had made. Returning home with Emma required careful orchestration to maintain the appearance of normal new parent experiences, while ensuring that my strategic protections remained invisible until the appropriate moment for revelation. David was focused on adjusting to fatherhood and helping me recover from childbirth, remaining unaware of the deeper dynamics about to unfold. I had arranged for Marie and Robert, David's supportive aunt and uncle, to be present when we arrived home, ostensibly to help with initial household tasks, but actually to serve as witnesses and additional support when Patricia and Amanda's true intentions became apparent. Their presence also demonstrated that we had genuine family support available, contradicting any claims that Patricia and Amanda were essential for our well-being. The house had been prepared with subtle modifications that would support my strategy during the coming confrontation. Security cameras had been installed in common areas under the pretext of general home security but positioned to document interactions and behaviors that might become relevant for legal proceedings. Communication equipment was in place to ensure I could contact legal and professional support immediately if manipulation attempts escalated to threatening behavior. Most importantly, I had prepared responses to the various manipulation tactics Patricia and Amanda were likely to employ, practicing clear, calm communications that would establish boundaries without providing opportunities for emotional escalation or victim narratives that could be used to gain David's sympathy. Patricia and Amanda arrived 6 hours after we returned home, laden with suitcases and supplies that clearly indicated plans for extended residence, rather than temporary assistance. Their immediate behavior confirmed every aspect of my intelligence gathering and strategic preparation. Within minutes of entering our home, Patricia began rearranging our baby care setup according to her preferences, dismissing our carefully prepared nursery organization as inadequate for proper infant care. She criticized our feeding schedule, questioned our pediatrician choice, and suggested modifications to our sleep arrangements that would require her constant involvement and oversight. Amanda focused on establishing herself as essential for household management, taking over kitchen operations and reorganizing our systems according to her standards. She expressed concern about my ability to maintain proper nutrition during breastfeeding, my energy levels for adequate childcare, and David's inexperience with infant care responsibility. Their behavior was initially subtle enough that David interpreted their actions as enthusiastic grandparent excitement and sisterly concern. However, their comments and actions consistently undermined our confidence and autonomy while positioning themselves as indispensable experts whose guidance was essential for successful parenting and household management. I responded with apparent gratitude while carefully documenting their behavioral patterns and quietly implementing boundary-setting communications that would expose their true intentions over time. My strategy required allowing them to reveal their manipulative nature gradually while protecting Emma and myself from their most harmful interference. By the third day of their visit, Patricia and Amanda's helpful facade began deteriorating as they encountered resistance to their control attempt. Their responses to reasonable boundaries and independence assertions revealed the manipulative patterns I had anticipated based on months of careful observation. When I declined Patricia's suggestion to switch pediatricians to her preferred family friend, she responded with emotional manipulation tactics designed to generate guilt and compliance. She expressed hurt feelings about my rejection of her expertise, questioned my commitment to providing the best possible care for Emma, and suggested that new mother hormones were affecting my judgment and decision-making capability. Amanda's approach was more direct, criticizing our household routines and expressing concern to David about my apparent resistance to helpful family support. She began keeping detailed lists of my activities and decisions, claiming she wanted to help me track my recovery progress but actually creating documentation that could be used to question my parenting capability. Their coordination became increasingly obvious as they supported each other's criticisms and consistently presented united fronts against any attempts to maintain independence or establish boundaries. They had clearly developed their manipulation strategy collaboratively, with Patricia focusing on emotional pressure while Amanda concentrated on practical control and authority under mine. Most significantly, they began making statements about their long-term presence in our home, discussing seasonal decorating plans, holiday hosting arrangements, and ongoing childcare schedules that extended far beyond the 2-week assistance period we had originally discussed. Throughout this escalation period, I maintained detailed records of their behaviors, comments, and manipulation attempts that would provide comprehensive evidence of their true intention. The security camera footage captured numerous incidents where their private conversations revealed their actual attitudes about our autonomy and their plans for ongoing control. In one particularly revealing incident, Patricia was recorded expressing frustration to Amanda about my resistance to their guidance,
stating that she had expected new mother exhaustion to make me more compliant with their suggestions and less capable of maintaining independent decision-making. Amanda's responses were equally damaging to their helpful narrative, as she discussed strategies for wearing down my resistance and positioning themselves as indispensable for Emma's proper care. She specifically mentioned plans to create situations where their assistance would become necessary, essentially engineering dependence rather than providing genuine support. Their private communications also revealed the financial motivations behind their manipulation attempts. They discussed the value of our property, expressed opinions about our spending priorities, and made statements suggesting they viewed our home as partially theirs due to their family relationship and assistance contribution. This documentation would prove essential when the time came to expose their manipulation attempts and demonstrate that our desire for independence was a reasonable response to inappropriate control behaviors, rather than ungrateful rejection of legitimate help. During this period, I began implementing the professional support systems I had arranged during my pregnancy preparation, demonstrating that we had access to expert assistance that rendered Patricia and Amanda's supposed expertise unnecessary. Our postpartum doula arrived for her scheduled visits, providing evidence-based guidance on infant care, breastfeeding support, and recovery management that contradicted several of Patricia's recommendations and exposed her advice as opinion rather than expertise. The doula's professional credentials and objective approach highlighted the difference between genuine assistance and manipulative control attempts. I also initiated consultations with lactation specialists, pediatric nutrition experts, and infant development professionals who could provide authoritative guidance on all the areas where Patricia and Amanda claimed special knowledge. This professional support network served multiple purposes, providing genuine assistance while demonstrating that their involvement was preference rather than necessity. The contrast between professional support and family manipulation became increasingly obvious as experts focused on our family's specific needs and preferences, rather than imposing external standards or questioning our decision-making capability. Professional supporters respected our autonomy while providing information and assistance, whereas Patricia and Amanda consistently undermined our confidence while demanding compliance with their preference. As Patricia and Amanda realized that their initial manipulation strategies were not generating the compliance they expected, their behavior became more aggressive and revealing. They began testing boundaries more aggressively and responding to resistance with increasingly inappropriate emotional pressure and authority assertion. Patricia's emotional manipulation escalated to include tears, expressions of hurt feelings about our rejection of her love and support, and threats to withdraw from our lives entirely if we continued to resist her involvement. These dramatic responses to reasonable boundaries revealed the conditional nature of her affection and the manipulative purpose behind her apparent helpfulness. Amanda's approach became more confrontational, directly questioning my parenting decisions and expressing concerns to David about my mental state and capability for responsible childcare. She began documenting what she characterized as concerning behaviors, creating a narrative that positioned her oversight as necessary for Emma's safety and well-being. Their coordination in these escalation attempts became impossible to ignore as they consistently supported each other's criticisms and presented unified opposition to any assertion of independence or establishment of boundaries.
They clearly viewed our resistance as a problem to be overcome rather than preferences to be respected. Most concerning, they began making statements about their legal rights regarding Emma's care, and their potential authority to intervene if they determined that our parenting was inadequate according to their standards. These statements revealed that their manipulation attempts included potential threats to our parental autonomy and legal custody rights. Understanding that their manipulation was escalating toward potentially threatening behavior, I began implementing more assertive protective measures while maintaining the appearance of reasonable boundary setting rather than defensive reaction to their control attempts. I started having conversations with David about our need for family privacy and independence, framing these discussions around normal new parent adjustment needs, rather than specific conflicts with his relatives. These conversations were designed to prepare him for the possibility that his family's helpful intentions might include inappropriate expectations about their ongoing involvement in our home and family decisions. I also began introducing the topic of our planned property transition, presenting it as a practical family planning decision that would provide better long-term security and living arrangements for Emma's childhood. This groundwork would make their eventual departure seem like natural timing rather than defensive reaction to their manipulation attempts. Most importantly, I started documenting their responses to reasonable requests for family privacy and independence, creating clear evidence that their helpful narrative was conditional on maintaining control over our household and parenting decisions. The escalation of Patricia and Amanda's manipulation attempts required accelerating the legal protections I had prepared during pregnancy, ensuring that formal safeguards would be in place before their behavior became overtly threatening or legally problematic. I confirmed the property transfer timeline with my legal team, ensuring that ownership transition would occur during their stay but provide clear legal grounds for requiring their departure according to predetermined schedule. The legal framework would prevent any attempts to establish tenancy rights or property claims based on their current residence in our home. I also prepared documentation for potential restraining orders if their manipulation escalated to harassment or threatening behavior toward our family. While I hoped such measures would not become necessary, having legal protections available would ensure rapid response if their control attempts became dangerous or destabilizing. The legal consultation also addressed potential custody concerns if Patricia and Amanda's threats about our parenting capabilities were pursued through official channels. Having comprehensive documentation of their manipulation attempts and inappropriate behavior would provide strong evidence that any custody challenges were motivated by control desires rather than legitimate safety concerns. As the confrontation approached, I activated the broader support network I had cultivated during pregnancy preparation, ensuring that multiple trusted individuals were aware of the situation and prepared to provide assistance when Patricia and Amanda's manipulation attempts were finally exposed. Marie and Robert increased their involvement with our family, providing obvious evidence that we had access to genuine family support that respected our autonomy and decision-making authority. Their presence also served as witness protection, ensuring that Patricia and Amanda's more aggressive manipulation attempts occurred in front of family members who could validate our experience and concern. Professional supporters including our pediatrician, postpartum doula, and legal team were briefed on the developing situation and prepared to provide documentation or testimony if formal intervention became necessary. Having expert validation of our parenting capabilities and decision-making competence would counteract any attempts to characterize resistance to manipulation as inadequate parenting or unstable behavior. The documentation I had been maintaining throughout their stay was organized and prepared for presentation to David, legal authorities, or other family members as needed to expose the reality behind Patricia and Amanda's helpful facade and justify the protective measures I had implemented. With comprehensive evidence of their manipulation attempts, legal protections in place, and support networks activated, I began preparing for the moment when their true intentions would be fully revealed and the confrontation would reach its climax. The property transfer was scheduled to complete within days, providing the legal foundation for requiring their departure while exposing the temporary nature of their residence that they had been attempting to make permanent through manipulation and control establishment. I prepared responses to their likely accusations and manipulation attempts when they realized that their control strategy had failed and their plans for extended residence and family authority had been anticipated and countered through comprehensive strategic planning. Most importantly, I prepared David for the possibility that his family's helpful behavior included hidden agendas that threatened our independence and family autonomy, ensuring that he would be psychologically ready to recognize manipulation when it became undeniable. The stage was set for a confrontation that would permanently establish our family boundaries while exposing the reality behind their supportive facade. The months of strategic preparation were about to be tested in the most intense circumstances possible, but I felt confident that my comprehensive planning had created multiple layers of protection that would remain effective even under extreme pressure. The next phase would require implementing the final elements of my strategy while maintaining composure under direct attack and protecting Emma from the emotional turbulence that would inevitably accompany the exposure of their true intentions and the failure of their manipulation attempt. The morning of day 10 marked the completion of the property transfer that I had orchestrated months earlier. While Patricia and Amanda busied themselves with establishing what they believed would be permanent household routine, the legal ownership of our home officially transferred to the limited liability company structure I had created, then immediately sold to my trusted friend Jennifer Martinez according to our predetermined agreement. The timing was deliberate and precise. Patricia had spent the previous evening discussing her plans to redecorate the nursery according to her preferred color scheme, and Amanda had begun researching local preschools for Emma's future enrollment, demonstrating their assumption that their residence in our home would continue indefinitely. Their confidence in their manipulation strategy had blinded them to the legal maneuvering that was simultaneously undermining their entire approach. Jennifer's purchase included immediate leaseback arrangements that protected our residents' rights while eliminating any basis for Patricia and Amanda to claim tenancy privileges or property interest. The legal structure created clear boundaries between legitimate residents and temporary guests, providing unambiguous authority for establishing departure timelines and occupancy requirements. The completion of this transfer represented more than financial protection. It symbolized the transformation of our home from a target for manipulation into a fortress of family autonomy, where decisions about residence, decoration, and household management remained firmly under our control rather than subject to external pressure from relatives who confused family relationship with property. I received confirmation of the completed transaction through secure communication channels while Patricia prepared breakfast according to her preferred nutritional standards and Amanda organized our household supplies according to her efficiency principle. Their domestic activities continued with complete confidence that they were establishing permanent systems rather than temporary arrangements that would soon be terminated. That afternoon, I began the delicate process of communicating the new property status to David in ways that would prepare him for the inevitable confrontation while maintaining focus on our family's legitimate needs rather than specific conflicts with his relative. The conversation required careful calibration to ensure understanding without creating defensive reactions that could complicate the situation. I framed the property changes as proactive family planning decisions designed to provide better long-term security and financial flexibility for Emma's future. The discussion emphasized positive aspects of our new arrangement, including improved legal protections and enhanced ability to make housing decisions based on our evolving family needs rather than external pressures or expectations. David's initial response reflected confusion about the timing and complexity of the arrangements, but his focus remained on understanding the practical implications rather than questioning the underlying motivation. His trust in my judgment and financial management capabilities provided essential foundation for accepting the changes without requiring detailed explanations that might reveal the defensive nature of my strategic preparation. The conversation also introduced the concept of establishing clearer boundaries with extended family members regarding residence decisions and household management authority. I presented these boundaries as healthy relationship practices that would benefit everyone involved rather than reactions to specific problematic behaviors that might create defensiveness or conflict. This communication strategy accomplished multiple objectives simultaneously. It provided David with essential information about our changed circumstances while preparing him psychologically for the boundary-setting conversations that would soon become necessary. It also established the framework for presenting Patricia and Amanda's departure as natural consequence of our family planning rather than punishment for their manipulation attempt. The strategic revelation process accelerated dramatically when Patricia discovered our postpartum doula's written recommendations for establishing independent family routines and limiting external interference during the critical bonding period. The professional guidance directly contradicted several of Patricia's fundamental assumptions about her necessary role in Emma's early development. Patricia's reaction to the doula's recommendations revealed the depth of her investment in maintaining control over our household and parenting decisions. Rather than respecting expert guidance or acknowledging our authority to seek professional support, she launched into detailed criticism of the doula's qualifications and methods while asserting her superior understanding of infant care based on her experience raising David and Amanda. Her emotional response escalated beyond reasonable disagreement into personal attacks on my judgment for seeking outside guidance when family expertise was available. She characterized the doula's involvement as rejection of family support and questioned my commitment to maintaining healthy relationships with David's relatives who only wanted to provide loving assistance. Amanda immediately joined the confrontation, supporting Patricia's criticisms while adding her own concerns about my apparent resistance to family input and guidance. She began documenting what she characterized as evidence of postpartum emotional instability, creating written records that could potentially be used to question my mental health and parenting capability. The coordination between Patricia and Amanda in this escalation revealed the calculated nature of their manipulation strategy. Their responses were too immediate and unified to represent spontaneous reactions to professional recommendations. They had clearly anticipated resistance to their control attempts and prepared collaborative approaches to undermine any efforts to maintain independence or establish boundaries. As Patricia and Amanda's manipulation tactics became more aggressive and coordinated, I intensified my documentation efforts to ensure comprehensive evidence of their inappropriate behavior and control attempts. The security camera system captured numerous incidents that revealed their true attitudes and intentions when they believed their conversations were private. One particularly damaging recording showed Patricia expressing frustration that I had not become sufficiently dependent on their assistance to accept their authority over household and parenting decisions. She specifically stated that she had expected new mother exhaustion to create compliance opportunities that would allow them to establish permanent influence over our family dynamic. Amanda's recorded comments were equally revealing, as she discussed strategies for undermining my confidence and decision-making authority, while positioning themselves as indispensable for Emma's proper care and development. She explicitly mentioned plans to create situations requiring their intervention, essentially engineering crises that would justify their continued presence and authority. Their private conversations also exposed the financial motivations underlying their manipulation attempt. They discussed our property value, criticized our spending priorities, and made statements suggesting they viewed our home as partially theirs due to family relationships and assistance contributions. These recordings would prove essential for demonstrating that their helpful narrative masked inappropriate expectations about property rights and financial authority. The documentation process extended beyond recording devices to include detailed written records of specific incidents, inappropriate comments, and boundary violations that demonstrated patterns of manipulation rather than isolated misunderstandings. This comprehensive evidence would provide powerful support for any legal interventions that might become necessary. To counter Patricia and Amanda's attempts to undermine my parenting capabilities and decision-making authority, I accelerated engagement with professional support systems that could provide objective validation of our family's healthy functioning and appropriate care standards. Our pediatrician completed a comprehensive evaluation of Emma's development and our parenting approaches, providing written documentation that our care met all professional standards and that Emma was thriving under our management. The medical validation directly contradicted Patricia's suggestions that her oversight was necessary for proper infant care. The lactation specialist provided similar validation regarding breastfeeding success and nutritional adequacy, countering Amanda's expressed concerns about my ability to maintain proper nutrition during recovery. Professional confirmation of healthy feeding patterns and maternal wellness eliminated any basis for questioning my physical capability to care for Emma independently. I also arranged consultations with child development specialists who confirmed that our bonding approaches and early stimulation activities were appropriate and beneficial for Emma's emotional and cognitive development. This expert validation provided authoritative response to Patricia's criticisms of our parenting methods and timeline decisions. The contrast between professional support and family manipulation became increasingly obvious as experts consistently validated our approaches while Patricia and Amanda consistently questioned our capability. Professional supporters focused on our family's specific needs and strengths, whereas the manipulative relatives concentrated on perceived deficiencies and dependencies that justified their continued intervention. With comprehensive evidence of manipulation attempts and professional validation of our parenting capability, I began implementing more definitive boundary-setting communications that would establish clear expectations for appropriate family involvement while preparing for the inevitable confrontation about residence arrangement. I initiated conversations with Patricia and Amanda about our appreciation for their assistance during the initial adjustment period,
while expressing our readiness to resume independent household management as our confidence and routine development progressed. These discussions were framed as natural progression rather than rejection of their help or criticism of their methods. Their responses to these boundary-setting attempts revealed the conditional nature of their support and the control motivations underlying their helpful facade, rather than expressing pride in our growing confidence or satisfaction with successful assistance provision. They became defensive and argumentative about our readiness for independence. Patricia's reaction included emotional manipulation tactics designed to generate guilt about our apparent ingratitude for family sacrifice and support. She characterized our desire for independence as rejection of family relationships and questioned our commitment to maintaining healthy connections with David's relatives who had invested significant time and energy in helping our family. Amanda's approach was more confrontational, directly challenging our assessment of our readiness for independent management and expressing concerns about Emma's welfare if their oversight and guidance were withdrawn. Her response revealed that she viewed their assistance as creating ongoing authority over our household and parenting decisions, rather than temporary support during adjustment. The escalation of Patricia and Amanda's resistance to reasonable boundaries required implementing the legal protections I had prepared to ensure their departure could be enforced if voluntary compliance was not achieved. The property transfer provided clear legal authority for establishing residence requirements and departure timelines. I consulted with my legal team about the specific procedures for requiring departure of temporary guests who had exceeded their welcome period and were refusing to acknowledge legitimate authority over residence decisions. The legal framework provided multiple options for enforcement, ranging from formal notice requirements to potential trespassing charges if cooperation was not forthcoming. The consultation also addressed potential complications if Patricia and Amanda attempted to establish tenancy claims or assert rights based on their assistance contribution. The property transfer structure had been specifically designed to prevent such claims, but having legal precedents and response strategies prepared would ensure rapid resolution of any attempted manipulation through legal channel. Documentation of their manipulation attempts and inappropriate behavior provided strong evidence that any resistance to departure requirements was motivated by control desires rather than legitimate housing needs or family emergency circumstances. This evidence would support legal interventions while demonstrating that our boundary enforcement was reasonable response to inappropriate behavior. Understanding that the final confrontation would likely involve emotional manipulation and potential threat, I activated the broader support network I had cultivated to ensure multiple witnesses and advocates would be available during the critical period when Patricia and Amanda's departure would be required. Marie and Robert increased their presence in our home, providing obvious demonstration that we had access to genuine family support that respected our autonomy and decision-making authority. Their involvement also created additional witnesses to any inappropriate behavior or manipulation attempts that might occur during the departure process. Professional supporters, including our pediatrician and postpartum doula, were briefed on the developing situation and prepared to provide documentation or testimony regarding our family's healthy functioning if any allegations about parenting inadequacy were pursued through official channels. I also coordinated with Jennifer Martinez, our property purchaser, to ensure she understood the timeline for requiring departure and was prepared to exercise property owner authority if legal enforcement became necessary. Having the actual property owner involved would eliminate any confusion about authority and provide additional legal protection. The comprehensive support network served multiple functions beyond immediate practical assistance. It demonstrated that our desire for independence was not isolation or rejection of help, but rather preference for healthy, respectful relationships over manipulative control attempts. It also provided emotional support during what would inevitably be a stressful and emotionally challenging confrontation. The final phase of implementation required careful timing coordination to ensure that all elements of the strategy would align for maximum effectiveness, while minimum opportunities for Patricia and Amanda to develop countermeasures or create complications that might delay their departure or escalate the conflict unnecessarily. I planned the revelation sequence to begin with communication about our family's evolving needs and growing confidence. followed by discussion of household management transitions and culminating with presentation of the property status changes that would require their departure according to predetermined timelines. The sequencing was designed to allow them opportunities to accept boundary changes gracefully while building toward unavoidable confrontation if they continued resisting reasonable expectations about temporary assistance versus permanent residence arrangement. I also coordinated with David's work schedule to ensure he would be present for the crucial conversation, providing him with advance preparation about the issues we would be addressing and the importance of presenting unified family position regarding our household management and residence decisions. The timing strategy included contingency plans for various reaction scenarios, from voluntary acceptance of departure requirements to aggressive resistance that might require legal intervention or emergency support activation. Having multiple response options prepared would ensure effective handling regardless of their specific reaction pattern. The approaching confrontation required final psychological preparation to ensure I could maintain composure and strategic thinking under intense emotional pressure while protecting Emma from the turbulence that would inevitably accompany the exposure of Patricia and Amanda's true intention. I reviewed my documentation evidence and legal protections to reinforce confidence that my position was strong and well supported by both factual evidence and professional validation. Understanding the comprehensive nature of my preparations provided psychological stability that would remain effective even under direct attack. I also prepared specific responses to their likely manipulation tactics, including emotional blackmail, victim narratives, and attempts to triangulate David against me by claiming I was preventing healthy family relationships. Having predetermined responses would prevent reactive decisions that might compromise my strategic position. Most importantly, I focused on the positive outcomes that would result from successfully implementing my protective strategy. Emma would grow up in an environment where healthy boundaries were maintained and respected, where manipulation was not tolerated, and where family relationships were based on mutual respect rather than control dynamics. With all strategic elements in place and comprehensive preparations completed, I entered the final preparation phase before implementing the culminating elements of my plan. The property transfer was complete, legal protections were active, support networks were mobilized, and evidence documentation was comprehensive. Patricia and Amanda continued their daily routines, with complete confidence that their manipulation strategy was succeeding, and their permanent residence was being established through gradual control expansion and dependency creation. Their assumption that new mother vulnerability would ensure compliance had prevented them from recognizing the systematic preparation that was simultaneously undermining their entire approach. David remained focused on adjusting to fatherhood and supporting my recovery while maintaining positive relationships with his family members. His trust in my judgment and appreciation for family assistance provided the foundation for presenting our boundary requirements as reasonable family decisions rather than defensive reactions to manipulation. Emma continued thriving under our care, providing living proof that our parenting capabilities were excellent and that external oversight was unnecessary for her healthy development. Her obvious well-being would serve as powerful evidence that our independence was beneficial rather than harmful for her welfare. The stage was set for the final confrontation that would permanently establish our family autonomy while exposing the reality behind Patricia and Amanda's helpful facade. The months of strategic preparation had created multiple layers of protection that would remain effective under the most intense pressure, ensuring that truth would ultimately prevail over manipulation. The morning of day 12 arrived with deceptive tranquility. Patricia prepared her customary elaborate breakfast while Amanda organized household schedules according to her efficiency standards, both maintaining the facade of helpful family members establishing beneficial routine. Neither suspected that this ordinary Tuesday would permanently alter their assumptions about control, manipulation, and family authority. I had selected this timing with precise calculation. David would be present for the entire day due to his scheduled work-from-home arrangement, ensuring unified family representation during the crucial conversations ahead. Emma's feeding and sleep schedule aligned perfectly with the extended discussion periods that would be required for complete revelation and resolution. The legal documentation confirming our property transfer completion had arrived the previous evening, providing the final element necessary for implementing the decisive phase of my strategy. Jennifer Martinez had confirmed her readiness to exercise property owner authority if voluntary compliance with departure requirements proved insufficient. As I prepared for the confrontation that would expose months of manipulation and strategic preparation, I felt profound calm rooted in comprehensive readiness. Every aspect of this moment had been anticipated, planned, and prepared for through systematic analysis and methodical implementation. The apparent vulnerability of new motherhood was about to be revealed as strategic strength that would permanently protect our family autonomy. Patricia's morning routine included detailed planning for the upcoming weeks, discussing seasonal decorating preferences and holiday hosting arrangements with the confident assumption that their residence in our home would continue indefinitely. Her planning horizon extended months into the future, revealing the depth of her miscalculation regarding our acceptance of permanent family oversight. I initiated the decisive conversation during the late morning period when household activities were naturally quiet and Emma's contentment would allow sustained discussion without interruption. The approach required careful calibration to establish clear expectations while providing opportunities for graceful acceptance of changing circumstances. The conversation began with appreciation for their assistance during the initial adjustment period and acknowledgement of their investment in supporting our family during the vulnerable transition to parenthood. This foundation recognized their contributions while establishing the framework for discussing evolving needs and changing household arrangements. I explained that our growing confidence and established routines indicated readiness for resumed independence in household management and parenting decisions. The discussion emphasized our natural development as parents rather than criticism of their methods or rejection of their support, providing face-saving opportunities for accepting modified involvement level. Patricia's immediate response revealed the conditional nature of her support and the control motivations underlying her helpful facade. Rather than expressing satisfaction with our growing confidence or pride in successful assistance provision, she became defensive about the suggestion that her oversight might no longer be necessary for proper household and childcare management. Her reaction included detailed enumeration of ongoing needs she perceived in our household systems, parenting approaches, and daily routines that required continued guidance and supervision. She positioned herself as uniquely qualified to identify these needs and provide essential solutions that we lacked the experience or capability to develop independently.
Amanda immediately reinforced Patricia's resistance to boundary establishment, supporting her claims about ongoing deficiencies, while adding concerns about Emma's welfare if their guidance and oversight were withdrawn. Her response revealed that she viewed their assistance as creating permanent authority over our family decisions, rather than temporary support during adjustment. Understanding that subtle boundary communications would not achieve voluntary acceptance of departure requirements, I proceeded to reveal the property status changes that would provide legal foundation for enforcing residents' decisions, regardless of their cooperation with reasonable requests for modified involvement. The revelation required careful presentation to emphasize practical family planning motivations, rather than defensive reactions to their manipulation attempts. I explained that we had completed property transfer arrangements designed to provide enhanced financial security and improved long-term planning flexibility for Emma's future needs. David's presence during this discussion provided essential support for presenting unified family position regarding our housing decisions and legal arrangements. His involvement demonstrated that the property changes reflected mutual family planning rather than unilateral defensive measures, strengthening the legitimacy of our position. I presented documentation confirming the completed transfer to Jennifer Martinez, explaining that our current resident status had changed from ownership to tenancy, under lease arrangements that provided appropriate protections while offering flexibility for future housing decisions based on evolving family needs. The implications for Patricia and Amanda's residence became clear as I explained that tenancy arrangements included specific provisions regarding additional occupants and long-term guest accommodation. Their current status as temporary visitors would need to transition according to predetermined timelines established in the lease agreement, Patricia's reaction to this revelation exceeded even my expectations for dramatic emotional manipulation. She launched into accusations of deception, betrayal, and calculated cruelty designed to generate guilt and reverse the implementation of our protective measure. Her response confirmed that she had indeed viewed our home as partially hers, and had expected permanent influence over our household decisions. Patricia's response to the property revelation demonstrated the sophisticated manipulation tactics she had employed throughout their visit, providing clear evidence that her helpful behavior had masked calculated attempts to establish permanent control over our family dynamics and household management. Her accusations of deception were particularly revealing, as they demonstrated her expectation that major family decisions should be subject to her approval and oversight. She characterized our independent financial and legal planning as betrayal of family trust, revealing her assumption that she possessed authority over our property and residence decisions. The emotional manipulation escalated to include tears, expressions of devastation about our apparent rejection of family love and support, and threats to withdraw completely from our lives if we continued implementing boundaries that limited her influence over our household and parenting decisions. Amanda's coordination with Patricia's emotional displays revealed the calculated nature of their manipulation strategy. Her immediate support of Patricia's accusations and her documentation of what she characterized as concerning behavior patterns demonstrated their collaborative approach to undermining our autonomy and decision-making authority. Their unified response included attempts to triangulate David against me by characterizing the property arrangements as evidence of postpartum instability and poor judgment that threatened our family's financial security and Emma's future welfare. This manipulation technique was designed to create doubt about my mental state and decision-making capability. The sophistication of their manipulation tactics validated every aspect of my strategic preparation and protective planning. Their behavior confirmed that voluntary acceptance of reasonable boundaries would not occur and that legal enforcement mechanisms would be necessary for protecting our family autonomy. The escalation of Patricia and Amanda's manipulation attempts required presenting comprehensive evidence of true intentions and inappropriate behavior to establish clear justification for enforcing departure requirements and implementing permanent boundaries regarding their involvement in our family decisions. I presented the security camera footage that had captured their private conversations, expressing frustration about my resistance to their control attempts and their strategies for engineering situations that would create dependency on their assistance and oversight. The recordings revealed Patricia's explicit statements about expecting new mother exhaustion to create compliance opportunities that would allow permanent establishment of their authority over household and parenting decisions. Her private comments contradicted her public narrative of selfless assistance and temporary support. Amanda's recorded discussions about undermining my confidence and creating situations requiring their intervention demonstrated the calculated nature of their helpful behavior and the manipulation motivations underlying their apparent concern for our family wealth. The documentation also included their private conversations about our property value, spending priorities, and their assumptions about partial ownership rights based on family relationships and assistance contribution. These recordings exposed the financial motivations underlying their manipulation attempts. David's reaction to this evidence represented a crucial moment in the confrontation. His recognition of the manipulation tactics and his understanding of their true intentions provided essential validation for the protective measures I had implemented and the boundary enforcement that would be required. With comprehensive evidence of manipulation and David's understanding of the true situation, I proceeded to implement the legal mechanisms that would ensure Patricia and Amanda's departure while protecting our family from future manipulation attempts and boundary violations. I presented the formal notice requirements established under our lease agreement regarding temporary guests and long-term visitor accommodations. The legal framework provided clear timelines for departure while offering reasonable accommodation for their travel arrangements and personal logistics. Jennifer Martinez's involvement as the actual property owner eliminated any confusion about authority and provided additional legal protection against attempts to challenge the departure requirements through claims about family relationships or assistance contribution. The legal documentation included specific provisions regarding future visits and accommodation requirements, establishing clear procedures that would prevent similar manipulation attempts while maintaining appropriate family relationships based on mutual respect rather than control dynamic. Patricia's response to the legal requirements revealed the depth of her investment in maintaining control over our household and family decisions. Rather than accepting the legitimate authority of property ownership and lease arrangements, she launched into threats about legal challenges and assertions about her rights as a grandmother. Amanda's reaction was equally inappropriate, as she attempted to characterize the legal enforcement as evidence of mental instability and poor judgment that justified intervention by family members concerned about Emma's welfare and our family's stability. The intensity of Patricia and Amanda's resistance to legitimate departure requirements necessitated activating the comprehensive support network I had cultivated to ensure multiple witnesses and advocates would be available during the final confrontation and enforcement period. Marie and Robert arrived as scheduled, providing obvious demonstration that we had access to genuine family support that respected our autonomy while offering appropriate assistance without manipulation or control attempts. Their presence created additional witnesses to the inappropriate behavior and provided emotional support during the stressful confrontation. Our pediatrician provided written confirmation of Emma's excellent health and development under our care, directly contradicting any suggestions that external oversight was necessary for proper infant care. The medical validation eliminated any basis for concerns about parenting adequacy or childcare capability. The postpartum doula offered similar professional validation regarding our adjustment, progress, and family functioning, providing expert testimony that our independence was beneficial rather than harmful for our family's continued development and well-being. Jennifer Martinez exercised her property owner authority by formally confirming the departure requirements and timelines, eliminating any ambiguity about legal compliance and enforcement mechanisms that would be implemented if voluntary cooperation was not achieved. The confrontation required additional professional validation to counter Patricia and Amanda's attempts to characterize our boundary enforcement as evidence of instability or poor judgment that justified their continued oversight and intervention in our family decisions. Legal consultation confirmed that our property arrangements were appropriate and beneficial for family financial planning, while providing legitimate authority for establishing residence requirements and guest accommodation policies that protected our household autonomy. Financial advisors validated the strategic benefits of our property transfer arrangements, demonstrating that the legal structure provided enhanced security and flexibility rather than the instability and poor planning that Patricia and Amanda claimed to perceive. Child development specialist provided written confirmation that our parenting approaches promoted healthy bonding and appropriate developmental progress, contradicting suggestions that external oversight was necessary for Emma's proper care and emotional well-being. The comprehensive professional validation created an authoritative foundation for our decisions, while exposing the manipulative motivations underlying Patricia and Amanda's resistance to our independence and their attempts to maintain control over our family dynamic. Despite clear legal requirements and comprehensive evidence of manipulation, Patricia and Amanda continued resisting voluntary compliance with departure timelines, necessitating formal enforcement measures to protect our family from ongoing manipulation attempts and boundary violations. The enforcement process began with formal written notice, providing specific departure deadlines and accommodation arrangements for their personal belongings and travel logistics. The documentation eliminated any confusion about requirements while offering reasonable consideration for their practical need. Their response to formal notice included escalation of emotional manipulation tactics, increased documentation of what they characterized as concerning behaviors, and threats about legal challenges regarding property arrangements and parenting adequacy. Jennifer Martinez implemented property owner enforcement procedures when voluntary compliance was not achieved, providing clear legal authority for requiring departure while protecting our family from direct confrontation that might escalate into threatening or dangerous behavior. Law enforcement assistance was requested when resistance to legitimate property owner requirements continued, ensuring professional handling of the departure process while creating official documentation of their inappropriate behavior and refusal to respect reasonable boundaries. The successful enforcement of departure requirements marked the achievement of comprehensive protection for our family autonomy while exposing the manipulative motivations that had underlain Patricia and Amanda's helpful facade throughout their residence in our home. Their departure eliminated the immediate pressure and control attempts while establishing clear precedents for appropriate family involvement that respected our decision-making authority and household management dependence. The documentation of their manipulation attempts and resistance to reasonable boundaries provided permanent records that would support future protective measures if similar control attempts were pursued through other channels or family relationships. David's recognition of the manipulation tactics and his support for the protective measures we had implemented established unified family positioning that would prevent future triangulation attempts and maintain consistent boundary enforcement. Emma's continued thriving under our independent care provided living proof that external oversight was unnecessary for her healthy development, and that our parenting capabilities were excellent without manipulation or control from extended family members. The complete implementation of my protective strategy validated every aspect of the systematic preparation and comprehensive planning that had transformed apparent vulnerability into position of strength throughout the confrontation period. The property transfer arrangements had provided essential legal protection while maintaining our housing security and financial flexibility, demonstrating that defensive measures could simultaneously serve positive family planning objectives. The documentation evidence had exposed manipulation attempts and inappropriate behavior patterns, providing clear justification for boundary enforcement while protecting our family reputation and decision-making authority. The support network had functioned effectively to provide witnesses, professional validation and emotional assistance throughout the confrontation, ensuring that we never faced the manipulation attempts in isolation or without authoritative backing. The comprehensive preparation had enabled successful navigation of intense emotional pressure and sophisticated manipulation tactics, while maintaining focus on protecting Emma's welfare and our family's long-term autonomy and stability. The transformation from apparent vulnerability to strategic strength provided powerful demonstration that careful planning and systematic preparation could overcome even sophisticated manipulation attempts while preserving important relationships and family connections based on mutual respect rather than control dynamics. The 48 hours following Patricia and Amanda's departure provided essential time for comprehensive assessment of the confrontation outcomes, while establishing initial frameworks for long-term family protection and relationship. The immediate relief from constant manipulation pressure allowed clear evaluation of the strategic success while identifying ongoing considerations for sustained family autonomy. David experienced significant emotional processing as he recognized the extent of manipulation that had occurred throughout the visit. His understanding of their true intentions required careful support to prevent guilt regarding his initial acceptance of their behavior and to strengthen his commitment to maintaining protective boundaries in future family interaction. Emma's response to the changed household dynamics provided immediate validation that the confrontation had been beneficial for our family environment. Her improved sleep patterns and increased contentment demonstrated that the tension and conflict energy present during Patricia and Amanda's residence had indeed affected our infant daughter's well-being, despite our efforts to shield her from adult conflict. The household atmosphere transformed dramatically with the elimination of constant scrutiny, criticism, and control attempts. The return to natural family rhythms allowed authentic parenting experiences without external judgment or interference, confirming that our independence was essential for healthy family development rather than selfish rejection of legitimate assistance. Professional supporters, including our pediatrician and postpartum doula, confirmed that our family functioning had improved measurably following the departure of disruptive influence. Their observations validated our assessment that manipulation and control attempts had been harmful rather than helpful for our adjustment and bonding processes. The legal documentation from the confrontation provided comprehensive records that would support future protective measures if similar manipulation attempts were pursued through other family members or indirect channels.
This evidence base established permanent foundation for boundary enforcement and family protection protocols. The successful resolution of the immediate crisis required transformation into sustainable long-term strategies that would protect our family autonomy while maintaining appropriate relationships with extended family members who demonstrated genuine respect for our independence and decision-making authority. I developed comprehensive boundary frameworks that distinguished between healthy family involvement and manipulative control attempts, creating clear criteria for evaluating future requests for assistance, advice, or extended visit. These frameworks would prevent similar manipulation situations while preserving beneficial family relationships. The boundary structure included specific protocols for visit requests, accommodation arrangements, and involvement in family decisions that protected our autonomy while offering reasonable consideration for legitimate family interests and genuine support needs. These protocols established clear expectations that eliminated ambiguity regarding acceptable behavior patterns. Communication guidelines were established for addressing boundary violations and inappropriate behavior in ways that preserved relationships while maintaining firm protection of our family priorities and decision-making independence. These guidelines would enable consistent response to manipulation attempts while avoiding escalation into unnecessary conflict. The framework also addressed gift-giving, financial assistance offers, and advice provision to ensure that material support could not be used as leverage for control attempts or as foundation for claiming authority over our household management and parenting decisions. Emergency protocols were developed for situations where boundary violations escalated into threatening behavior or harassment that might require legal intervention or protective measures beyond normal family relationship management approach. Establishing sustainable protection required developing sophisticated communication strategies that would maintain family relationships while clearly establishing and enforcing boundaries that protected our autonomy and prevented future manipulation attempts. I initiated conversations with other family members to provide accurate information about the confrontation and its resolution, ensuring that Patricia and Amanda could not control the narrative or characterize our boundary enforcement as unreasonable rejection of family support and assistance. Marie and Robert served as essential allies in these communication efforts, providing credible validation of our perspective while maintaining their own relationships with other family members. Their involvement ensured that accurate information would be available to counter any manipulation of the situation narrative. The communication strategy included proactive sharing of our family's positive developments and achievements to demonstrate that independence had enhanced rather than harmed our functioning and well-being. This approach countered any suggestions that rejecting manipulation had created isolation or instability. Professional achievements and milestones were shared strategically to establish our competence and success in ways that would make future manipulation attempts less credible to other family members who might otherwise be susceptible to Patricia and Amanda's influence. Extended family communications emphasized our openness to healthy relationships based on mutual respect while clearly establishing expectations for appropriate involvement that supported rather than undermined our family autonomy and decision-making independence. The confrontation resolution required ongoing legal considerations to ensure that protective measures remained effective while adapting to potential future challenges or manipulation attempts through different channels or family relation attempts. I maintained regular consultation with legal advisors to monitor potential developments and ensure that our protective frameworks remained current with legal requirements and enforcement options. This ongoing relationship provided immediate response capability if escalation of boundary violations required formal intervention. The property arrangements with Jennifer Martinez were formalized into long-term agreements that provided sustained protection while offering flexibility for our eventual housing decisions based on family growth and changing needs, rather than external pressure or manipulation attempts. Documentation systems were established for ongoing record-keeping regarding family interactions and boundary compliance, ensuring that patterns of appropriate behavior or renewed manipulation attempts would be properly recorded for future reference and potential legal application. Insurance and financial protections were enhanced to prevent any potential exploitation through emergency situations or claimed family financial needs that might be used as leverage for renewed control attempts or manipulation strategy. Estate planning considerations were implemented to ensure that our family's long-term security could not be threatened through inheritance expectations or family financial obligations that might create vulnerability to future manipulation attempts. The successful boundary implementation required strengthening and expanding the support network that had proven essential during the confrontation, while developing sustainable relationships that would provide ongoing assistance without manipulation or control attempts. Professional relationships with our pediatrician, childcare provider, and family support services were formalized into comprehensive care networks that provided expert guidance and validation while eliminating dependence on family members whose assistance included inappropriate expectations or control motivation. Community connections were developed through parenting groups, neighborhood organizations, and professional associations that provided social support and practical assistance based on mutual benefit rather than family obligation or emotional manipulation. Marie and Robert's role as supportive family members was strengthened through regular communication and inclusion in family celebrations and milestones, demonstrating that our boundary enforcement was directed at inappropriate behavior rather than rejection of all family involvement. Mentor relationships were cultivated with other parents who had successfully navigated similar family challenges, providing ongoing guidance and validation for our protective strategies while offering perspective on long-term relationship management approaches. Professional development networks were expanded to provide career support and advancement opportunities that enhanced our family's financial security and reduced any potential vulnerability to economic pressure or manipulation through claimed financial assistance needs. The elimination of manipulation and control attempts provided opportunities for establishing authentic family culture based on our values and priorities rather than external expectations or pressure from relatives with different perspectives on household management and parenting approaches. I focused on developing traditions and routines that reflected our genuine preferences and Emma's needs, rather than compliance with external standards or expectations that did not align with our family's natural rhythms and developmental requirements. Decision-making processes were established that involved David and me as equal partners without external interference or second-guessing from relatives who assumed authority over our choices based on claimed expertise or family hierarchy expectations. Parenting approaches were implemented based on professional guidance and our observations of Emma's responses rather than accommodation of extended family preferences or traditions that might not serve our daughter's individual needs and developmental patterns. Holiday and celebration planning was developed according to our preferences and capabilities rather than external expectations or obligations that created stress or conflict within our household dynamics and family relationships. Financial management strategies were implemented based on our priorities and long-term goals rather than accommodation of family expectations or pressure regarding spending decisions and lifestyle choices that others might prefer or consider more appropriate. The successful resolution of family manipulation challenges provided motivation and opportunity for accelerating professional development that would enhance our family's long-term security while demonstrating our competence and independence to any remaining skeptic. I pursued advanced training and certification in my professional field to strengthen career prospects and earning potential, reducing any future vulnerability to economic pressure that might be used as leverage for renewed manipulation or control attempts. Networking activities were expanded to include industry leaders and professional mentors who could provide career guidance and advancement opportunities independent of family connections or obligations that might include inappropriate expectations or conditions. Speaking and writing opportunities were pursued to establish professional reputation and thought leadership that would provide platform for helping other families navigate similar challenges while building career credentials and income diversification. Consulting and freelance work was developed to create additional income streams that enhanced financial independence while providing professional satisfaction and recognition that validated our decision-making capabilities and judgment. Professional association involvement was increased to provide leadership development opportunities while establishing credibility and expertise that would support long-term career advancement and financial security goals. The resolution of manipulation and challenges provided opportunities for focusing completely on excellent parenting without external criticism or interference, while documenting our approaches and outcomes to validate our capabilities and decision-making authority. Emma's developmental milestones were carefully tracked and shared with professional care providers to demonstrate the benefits of autonomous parenting without manipulation or control from extended family members who assumed superior knowledge or capability. Parenting education was pursued through professional courses and expert consultation to ensure that our approaches remained current with best practices while validating our commitment to providing excellent care through informed decision-making rather than family tradition or external pressure. Documentation of our parenting successes and Emma's thriving development provided ongoing evidence that independence had enhanced rather than compromised our family's functioning and our daughter's well-being and developmental progress. Professional validation of our parenting approaches was obtained through regular consultations with pediatric specialists and child development experts who confirmed that our methods were appropriate and beneficial for Emma's individual needs and characteristics. Educational planning for Emma's future was initiated based on her demonstrated abilities and interests rather than external expectations or family traditions that might not align with her individual potential and developmental requirements. The elimination of manipulation and pressure provided opportunities for implementing comprehensive financial strategies that would enhance our family's long-term security while reducing any potential vulnerability to economic leverage or control attempts. Investment planning was expanded to include diversified portfolios and long-term growth strategies that would provide sustained financial independence without dependence on family assistance that might include inappropriate expectations or conditions for support. Emergency fund development was accelerated to ensure that temporary financial challenges could not be exploited as opportunities for renewed manipulation or control through claimed assistance needs or crisis intervention. Insurance coverage was enhanced to provide comprehensive protection against potential financial disruptions while eliminating any basis for claims that family assistance might be necessary for maintaining stability and security. Estate planning was implemented to ensure that our family's financial security would be protected through appropriate legal structures that prevented exploitation through inheritance, expectations, or family financial obligations.
Professional financial management was established through relationships with certified advisors who provided objective guidance without personal agendas or family relationship complications that might compromise their recommendations or create conflicts of interest. The successful boundary establishment provided opportunities for deeper community integration that would provide social support and practical assistance while reducing any potential isolation that might create vulnerability to future manipulation attempts. Neighborhood relationships were strengthened through participation in community activities and volunteer opportunities that provided mutual support networks based on shared interests rather than family obligation or emotional manipulation. Religious or spiritual community involvement was expanded to provide values-based support and guidance that reinforced our family priorities while offering perspective on healthy relationship management and boundary maintenance approaches. Professional community engagement was increased through industry associations and career development groups that provided mentorship and advancement opportunities while establishing credibility and recognition for our capabilities and achievements. Parenting community connections were developed through playgroups, educational programs, and child development activities that provided practical support and social interaction while validating our parenting approaches and family functioning. Civic involvement was pursued through local government participation and community service that provided leadership development opportunities while establishing reputation and credibility within our broader community environment. The resolution of immediate manipulation challenges provided foundation for implementing comprehensive long-term vision for our family's development and achievement that would be protected from external interference or control attempts. Career advancement planning was expanded to include ambitious professional goals that would enhance our family's financial security while providing personal satisfaction and achievement that validated our capabilities and decision-making authority. Educational planning for Emma included consideration of optimal schooling options and extracurricular opportunities that would support her individual development, rather than compliance with family expectations or traditional approaches that might not serve her specific needs and interests. Lifestyle planning was implemented based on our authentic preferences and values, rather than accommodation of external expectations or pressure regarding housing, travel, and recreational choices that others might consider more appropriate or practical. Relationship planning addressed our approach to future family interactions and boundary maintenance that would preserve beneficial connections while protecting against renewed manipulation attempts or control efforts through different family members or circumstances. Legacy planning was initiated to ensure that our achievements and protective strategies would benefit Emma throughout her life, while providing model for other families facing similar challenges with manipulation and boundary violation. The comprehensive implementation of long-term protective strategies transformed our family from targets of manipulation into models of empowerment and independence that would inspire and assist others while ensuring sustained protection of our autonomy and decision-making authority. 3 months after successfully establishing comprehensive protective boundaries, I recognized that the strategic methodologies developed during our family crisis possessed significant potential for supporting other families facing similar manipulation challenges. The systematic approach to intelligence gathering, evidence documentation, and legal protection had created replicable frameworks that could benefit individuals encountering comparable situations with controlling relatives or manipulative family dynamics. The transformation from defensive protection to proactive empowerment represented a natural evolution of the capabilities developed through necessity during our confrontation period. The comprehensive preparation and strategic thinking that had enabled our family's successful boundary establishment contained valuable insights that could prevent other families from experiencing similar manipulation attempts or provide guidance for those currently facing such challenges. Professional recognition of these capabilities emerged through conversations with our support network providers, who had observed the sophisticated approach we had employed for family protection and relationship management. Their validation of our methodologies provided confidence that the strategic frameworks possessed broader applicability beyond our specific circumstances and family dynamics. The documentation systems and evidence-gathering techniques that had proven essential for our legal protection represented practical skills that could be taught to others facing manipulation attempts, disguised as family assistance or support. The careful calibration between maintaining relationships and enforcing boundaries provided models for navigating complex family dynamics without unnecessary conflict escalation. Emma's continued thriving development under our independent parenting approaches provided ongoing validation that autonomous decision-making enhanced rather than compromised family function. This evidence supported the broader principle that manipulation resistance and boundary enforcement served family welfare rather than selfish rejection of legitimate assistance or guidance. The expansion from personal success to broader influence required developing systematic approaches for sharing strategic insights while maintaining appropriate boundaries regarding professional consultation and family privacy protection. The creation of consulting frameworks would enable assistance provision without compromising our own family security or creating new vulnerabilities through excessive exposure or involvement. I established consultation protocols that distinguished between general guidance provision and specific intervention in active family crises, ensuring that assistance efforts remained within appropriate scope while providing meaningful support for individuals facing manipulation challenges. These protocols protected our family privacy while enabling productive sharing of strategic methodologies and protective techniques. Professional development in family mediation and conflict resolution provided formal credentials that enhanced credibility while expanding capabilities for supporting others through complex relationship challenges. The certification processes validated the strategic approaches we had developed while providing additional tools for addressing diverse family dynamics and manipulation patterns. The consultation framework included comprehensive screening procedures for potential clients to ensure compatibility between their situations and our methodological approaches, while identifying cases requiring specialized expertise beyond our capabilities or experience. This screening protected both our effectiveness and client welfare by ensuring appropriate service provision. Documentation protocols were established for consultation activities to maintain professional standards while protecting client confidentiality and preserving the integrity of our strategic methodology. These protocols ensured that assistance provision would enhance rather than compromise our reputation and effectiveness. Legal consultation regarding professional liability and service provision boundaries ensured that assistance activities remained within appropriate legal frameworks, protecting our family from potential complications arising from involvement in complex family disputes or manipulation. The recognition that our strategic methodologies possessed educational value led to development of comprehensive platforms for sharing insights and techniques with broader audiences facing family manipulation challenges or seeking empowerment strategies for complex relationship dynamics. Writing initiatives were launched through professional publications and online platforms that reached audiences experiencing similar challenges while establishing thought leadership in family protection and boundary management strategies. These publications provided practical guidance while building professional reputation and credibility. Speaking engagements were pursued through parenting organizations, professional associations, and community groups that provided opportunities for direct education and support while expanding recognition of our methodological approaches and strategic framework. Workshop development created structured educational experiences that taught specific techniques for intelligence gathering, evidence documentation, boundary establishment, and legal protection within family context. These workshops provided hands-on learning opportunities while generating income that supported our family's financial independence. Online course creation enabled broader reach and sustained impact through comprehensive educational programs that guided individuals through systematic approaches to family protection and empowerment. The courses provided detailed instruction while allowing participants to progress according to their specific circumstances and needs. Mentorship programs were established for individuals facing active manipulation situations who required ongoing guidance and support throughout their protection and boundary establishment process. These programs provided personalized assistance while maintaining appropriate professional boundaries and service scope. The transition from family protection to broader influence required cultivating professional relationships with experts and organizations that shared commitment to family empowerment and protection against manipulation while providing opportunities for collaboration and referral development. Legal professionals specializing in family protection and domestic relations were integrated into our network to provide specialized expertise for situations requiring formal intervention or complex legal strategy development. These relationships ensured comprehensive service capability while maintaining appropriate professional boundaries. Mental health professionals experienced in family dynamics and manipulation recovery were incorporated to address psychological aspects of empowerment and boundary establishment that exceeded our scope of practice. These collaborations provided holistic support while ensuring ethical service provision. Financial advisors and estate planning specialists were included to address economic aspects of family protection and independence establishment that often represented critical components of manipulation resistance and long-term security planning. Child development experts and educational professionals were engaged to provide specialized guidance for families where manipulation attempts targeted parenting decisions or child welfare concerns. These relationships ensured that family protection efforts supported rather than compromised child welfare and development. Community organizations focused on family support and empowerment were cultivated to provide broader platforms for education and assistance while connecting our efforts with established resources and advocacy networks. The expansion of influence required comprehensive documentation of successful interventions and strategic applications to validate methodological effectiveness while providing evidence-based support for continued development and refinement of our approach. Our family's experience was transformed into detailed case study analysis that identified key success factors and replicable strategies while protecting specific personal details and maintaining appropriate privacy boundaries. This case study provided foundational evidence for broader methodological application. Additional case studies were developed through consultation work and educational activities that demonstrated the versatility and effectiveness of our strategic frameworks across diverse family situations and manipulation patterns. These studies validated the broader applicability of our approaches while identifying areas for continued development. Outcome tracking systems were established to monitor long-term success rates and identify factors that contributed to sustained family protection and empowerment. This data collection provided evidence-based validation while supporting continuous improvement of our methodological approach. Research collaboration with academic institutions studying family dynamics and manipulation patterns provided opportunities for formal validation and publication of our strategic frameworks while contributing to broader understanding of family protection and empowerment strategy. Professional conference presentations showcased our methodological approaches and documented outcomes while establishing credibility within relevant professional communities and expanding recognition of our expertise and contribution. The scaling of influence and impact required leveraging technology platforms that could extend reach and effectiveness while maintaining quality and personalization of assistance provision for individuals facing family manipulation challenges. Digital platforms were developed for course delivery and resource provision that enabled broader access while maintaining comprehensive educational content and interactive support capabilities. These platforms provided scalable impact while preserving educational quality and participant engagement. Communication systems were implemented for consultation and mentorship activities that protected privacy while enabling effective guidance and support provision across geographic boundaries and scheduling constraints. Documentation tools were created for individuals implementing our strategic methodologies to ensure systematic approach application while providing mechanisms for progress tracking and outcome measurement. Resource libraries were established through digital platforms that provided comprehensive access to templates, guides, and reference materials that supported independent implementation of family protection strategies while maintaining current and accurate information. Community forums were developed to enable peer support and experience sharing among individuals implementing family protection strategies while maintaining appropriate moderation and professional oversight to ensure constructive and helpful interaction. The expansion from personal success to broader influence required establishing comprehensive systems for measuring impact and effectiveness to ensure that assistance provision achieved meaningful outcomes while supporting continuous improvement and strategic refinement. Success metrics were developed that measured both immediate protection achievements and long-term family empowerment outcomes to provide comprehensive assessment of methodological effectiveness and individual progress toward autonomous family functioning. Follow-up protocols were established for tracking long-term outcomes and identifying factors that supported sustained success while recognizing areas where additional support or methodology refinement might enhance effectiveness. Feedback systems were implemented for gathering input from individuals who had implemented our strategic approaches to identify strengths and areas for improvement while validating specific techniques and overall methodological framework. Research partnerships were developed with academic institutions studying family dynamics to provide formal evaluation of our approaches while contributing to broader understanding of effective family protection and empowerment strategies. Professional evaluation was pursued through expert review of our methodologies and outcomes to ensure that our approaches met professional standards while identifying opportunities for enhancement and expanded application. The recognition that individual family protection efforts could be enhanced through community support and shared learning led to development of broader community-building initiatives that connected individuals facing similar challenges while providing mutual support and collective empowerment.
Support group facilitation was developed to provide structured environments where individuals facing family manipulation could share experiences and strategies while receiving professional guidance and peer support throughout their protection and boundary establishment process. Advocacy initiatives were launched to address systemic issues that enabled family manipulation and boundary violations while promoting policy changes and social awareness that would support family protection and empowerment efforts. Educational outreach was expanded through community presentations and awareness campaigns that provided prevention-focused education while reducing stigma associated with family manipulation experiences and boundary enforcement needs. Resource development was pursued through collaboration with community organizations to ensure that comprehensive support services were available for individuals facing family manipulation while addressing gaps in existing service provision. Professional training was provided for service providers and community leaders to enhance their capability for recognizing and addressing family manipulation while providing appropriate referrals and support coordination. The expansion of impact beyond individual assistance required engagement with policy development and systemic change initiatives that would address structural factors enabling family manipulation while promoting legal and social frameworks supporting family autonomy and protection. Legislative advocacy was pursued through collaboration with policy organizations focused on family protection and domestic relations to promote legal frameworks that supported family autonomy while providing effective remedies for manipulation and boundary violation. Professional standard development was engaged through relevant professional associations to ensure that service providers possessed appropriate training and capabilities for addressing family manipulation while maintaining ethical standards and effective practice guidelines. Educational policy influence was pursued through collaboration with academic institutions and educational organizations to ensure that family protection and boundary management strategies were incorporated into relevant professional training and public education programs. Legal precedent development was supported through strategic litigation and amicus brief participation that strengthened legal protections for family autonomy while establishing clear precedents for boundary enforcement and manipulation. Social awareness campaigns were developed to promote broader understanding of family manipulation patterns while reducing stigma and increasing support for individuals facing such challenges within their family relationship. The transformation from personal family protection to broader social influence represented achievement of comprehensive empowerment that would benefit Emma throughout her development while creating lasting positive impact for other families facing similar challenges. Legacy planning was expanded to ensure that the strategic frameworks and educational resources developed through our experience would continue providing benefit beyond our direct involvement while establishing sustainable systems for ongoing family protection and empowerment support. Professional recognition was pursued through awards and acknowledgement that would validate our contributions while providing platforms for continued influence and impact expansion throughout relevant professional and community networks. Succession planning was developed for our educational and consultation activities to ensure continuity of service provision while maintaining quality and effectiveness standards that had been established through our direct involvement and oversight. Innovation development was pursued through ongoing research and methodology refinement that would enhance effectiveness while adapting to evolving family dynamics and manipulation patterns that might require new strategic approaches. International expansion was explored through collaboration with organizations addressing family manipulation and empowerment in different cultural contexts while adapting our methodological frameworks to diverse legal and social environments. The comprehensive evolution from family crisis to social influence validated the transformative potential of strategic thinking and systematic preparation while demonstrating that individual empowerment could generate broader positive impact that extended far beyond immediate family protection and boundary establishment. 8 months after establishing our family protection consulting practice, the unexpected arrival of public recognition created complex challenges that required careful navigation to preserve our family privacy while maintaining professional effectiveness. A high-profile family dispute resolution case had attracted media attention, and our methodological approach had been credited with achieving successful outcomes where traditional mediation had failed. The media interest presented opportunities for expanding our influence and educational reach while simultaneously threatening the privacy and security that had been fundamental to our family's recovery and empowerment. Managing this recognition required developing sophisticated strategies for public engagement that protected our personal boundaries while fulfilling professional obligations to share effective methodologies with broader audiences. Television interview requests and podcast invitations proliferated as journalists and content creators recognized the compelling narrative of transformation from manipulation victim to empowerment expert. Each opportunity required careful evaluation to determine alignment with our educational mission while assessing potential risks to our family's privacy and security. The challenge extended beyond media management to include professional relationship dynamics as colleagues and competitors responded to our growing recognition with varying degrees of support, skepticism, and concern about our rapid emergence in the family protection consulting field. Navigating these professional dynamics required diplomatic skill while maintaining commitment to our methodological principles and client service standards. Emma's development into an active toddler added complexity to recognition management as her presence in our home-based consulting practice required additional privacy protections while ensuring that professional activities supported rather than compromised our family priorities and parenting responsibilities. David's professional advancement was simultaneously accelerated and complicated by association with our consulting success, as his colleagues recognized his connection to our methodological innovations while potentially questioning his independent professional achievements and capability. The growth of our consulting practice beyond individual family assistance to include training other professionals created significant expansion of responsibility that required development of comprehensive quality assurance systems and ethical oversight protocols. The transition from direct service provision to training and supervision of other practitioners demanded enhanced capabilities and accountability measuring program development for family mediators, social workers, and legal professionals required translation of our experiential methodologies into systematic educational curricula that could be effectively delivered across diverse professional backgrounds and practice contexts. This translation process demanded rigorous analysis of our approaches to identify core principles and replicable techniques. Certification standards were established for professionals seeking to implement our strategic frameworks within their own practice context, ensuring that methodology application maintained effectiveness while adapting to different professional requirements and ethical obligations. These standards protected both client welfare and our professional reputation through quality control mechanisms. Supervision protocols were developed for practitioners implementing our methodologies to provide ongoing guidance and as support while monitoring outcomes and identifying areas requiring additional training or methodology refinement. These protocols ensured consistent service quality while supporting professional development of our certified practitioners. Research collaboration with academic institutions studying family dynamics expanded our responsibility for contributing to scholarly understanding of manipulation patterns and protection strategies while maintaining scientific rigor and ethical standards for research participation and data sharing. Professional conference presentations and publication responsibilities required ongoing commitment to sharing insights and methodological developments while maintaining current knowledge of field advances and integrating new research findings into our practice approach. The increasing demand for our services and methodologies created pressure for rapid innovation and expansion that challenged our commitment to careful development and quality maintenance. Balancing growth opportunities with sustainable practice development required strategic decision-making about service expansion and methodology enhancement. Technology platform development became essential for managing increased client volume while maintaining personalized service quality that had characterized our early practice success. The creation of digital assessment tools and educational resources required significant investment while ensuring that technology enhanced rather than replaced human connection and individualized guidance. Methodology refinement continued through analysis of diverse case applications and outcome tracking that revealed areas for improvement and expansion of our strategic framework. This refinement process required systematic analysis while maintaining flexibility to adapt approaches based on emerging patterns and changing family dynamics. Quality assurance systems were implemented to monitor service delivery and outcome achievement across our expanding practice while identifying practitioners or applications requiring additional support or intervention. These systems protected client welfare while maintaining our reputation for effectiveness and professional excellence. Innovation partnerships were developed with technology companies and educational institutions to enhance our service delivery capabilities while accessing resources and expertise that supported sustainable growth and continued methodological advance. Professional development initiatives were expanded to ensure that our own capabilities remained current with field advances while maintaining leadership in family protection and empowerment strategy. This development included advanced training in areas complementary to our core expertise while deepening specialization in manipulation recognition and boundary establishment techniques. The expansion of influence and responsibility required development of comprehensive ethical frameworks that addressed conflicts of interest, confidentiality protection, and appropriate boundaries between personal experience sharing and professional service provision. These frameworks ensured that our practice maintained integrity while fulfilling obligations to clients and broader professional community. Confidentiality protocols were enhanced to address the complexity of public recognition while protecting client privacy and maintaining trust relationships essential for effective service delivery. These protocols included media interaction guidelines and public speaking boundaries that prevented inappropriate disclosure while enabling educational content share. Conflict of interest policies were established to address situations where our public profile or professional relationships might create ethical complications, requiring recusal or specialized handling. These policies protected both client interest and our professional integrity through transparent decision-making process. Professional boundary management addressed the unique challenges of operating a practice based on personal experience while maintaining appropriate therapeutic and consultative relationships with clients facing similar challenges. These boundaries protected both client welfare and our own family privacy and emotional well-being. Cultural sensitivity training was pursued to ensure that our methodologies could be appropriately adapted for diverse family structures and cultural context while respecting different approaches to family relationships and authority dynamics. This training enhanced our service effectiveness while preventing cultural bias or inappropriate methodology application. Continuing education requirements were established for maintaining our professional competence while ensuring that our approaches remained current with field developments and research findings.
These requirements supported both client welfare and our professional development throughout our expanding practice. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up, just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.